Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this macrame sun pixel. Hi friends! Before we begin, let's go over some of the supplies. You're going to need a 6-inch wooden dowel or a branch. You're also going to need some single strand cotton rope, and I do prefer single strand. I find that the knots lie on it a little bit better. I'll leave a link in the description box where I purchased mine. You will also need some medium worsted weight yarn, and you can choose whatever color you like. If you want your sun to be different shades of yellow, you can go ahead and do that. You will also need some sharp scissors, and of course the grid pattern. You can find the grid pattern here and take a screenshot if you like, or you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram where I list all my patterns on my Instagram highlight reel. Now, some optional supplies is a highlighter. I like to use a highlighter to mark off each row we complete. And what's helpful is a macrame board and some T-pins. For a small pixel like this, a macrame board and pins is very helpful. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to attach all 11 cords onto our wooden dowel using a lark's head knot. To tie a lark's head knot, you want to fold your cord in half. And then with a loop end, you want to place that behind your wooden dowel, and then thread your long tail ends through the loop. Cinch up the slack and then attach the rest of your cords. Alright, let's go over the grid pattern. Each square on the grid pattern represents a knot in that corresponding color, and we start at the left and work our way towards the right hand side. Our first 2 knots are white, and then it goes right into switching colors. That is actually what I really love about this pattern. We get right into all the colors right away. Alright, so grab a strand of yarn. I like to work with 60 inches at a time, which is roughly my arm span. And you want to place your yarn under the first strand of rope with the short tail end on the left and the long on the right. Make a loop on the right hand side, and then with your long tail end you want to wrap that around and through the loop. This is half of our knot. To complete the other half, you want to repeat the same thing. So make a loop on your right, wrap your long tail end around and through the loop. But don't cinch it up too tight. You want to be able to slide it all the way up to the top, right below your lark's head knot. Then go ahead and make your adjustments. Alright, so the first knot always looks different, so let's go ahead and do the second one. So what you're going to do is take your same strand of yarn and place that underneath the next strand of rope. Make a loop on your right, wrap your long tail end around and through the loop, but this time you want to cinch it all the way up to the top. And then repeat one more time. So make a loop on your right, wrap your long tail end around and through the loop, and cinch all the way up to the top. So that is our first 2 knots. Now we need to switch to a different color already. With the yarn that you were just working with, you want to place that down and off to the side. We'll get back to it in just a minute. Then snip off a long strand of yellow yarn, and we're going to attach it just like we did for our very first knot. So again, place it behind your rope with your short tail end on your left and the long on your right. Make a loop on your right, wrap your tail end around and through the loop, and repeat. And remember, don't cinch it up too taut because you want to be able to freely slide your knot all the way up to the top. Now, I accidentally cinched mine too taut here, so you see me struggling a little bit. I'd like to say that I did that to prove a point, but you know, mistakes are made. Anyways, carrying on, once we tie the rest of our yellow knots, we need to switch back to the white. To do this, you want to use the same white that you were using previously and run it underneath your yellow. So to do this, find the same white yarn that you were working with previously, lift up your white cotton rope, and then run your yarn underneath it. Then all you have to do is carry on with your pattern. So with the next strand of rope, you want to place your yarn underneath it, and then go ahead and tie your vertical double half-hitch knots just the same as you were doing before. See, so swapping back and forth between colors is actually quite easy. All we're doing is running it underneath our work. However, I do want to point out, as you're running it, make sure you don't pull it too taut, otherwise you might cause your work to pucker. Alright, so now we've worked our way all the way across. What we need to do for our second row is go back in the opposite direction. And don't worry, this is easy peasy. Working with the same strand of yarn in your first row, you want to bring that underneath your last strand of rope, pulling it over to the left-hand side. Then we're going to make a loop on our left, wrap our tail end around and through the loop, and repeat. So essentially, it's the same thing that we were doing in the first row, only backwards. Let me show you one more time with the next knot. So place your yarn underneath your second to last strand of rope, make a loop on your left, wrap your tail end around and through the loop, and repeat. Okay, so let's go ahead and complete our second row by working our way from right to left. And don't forget to highlight each row that you've completed. For your third row, we're going to go back in the other direction, working from left to right this time. Attach a new piece of yarn anytime you run out of length of yarn. Continue zigzagging your way all the way down your grid pattern. Once you've tied all of your vertical double half hitch knots, it's time to clean up the mess on the back. And I have a tip for you if you run into the same problem I did. Alrighty, so flip it over and I'll show you what to do to clean up all these loose ends. What I like to do is find any two cords that are close together and tie just a regular double overhand knot. And then with my scissors, I snip off the excess length. Now they don't have to be right next to each other, but any two cords that are close together, you can go ahead and meet them in the middle and then tie your double overhand knot. Continue doing this all the way down the back of your work, and don't worry, it doesn't take that long. Now here is the problem. If you tie your knot too close to the edge, then it might stick out the side of your work. To fix that, I'm going to tack it down with this fabric glue. Now, if you don't have fabric glue, you can always use just regular hot glue. In fact, I do that often, but I was, to be honest, too lazy to wait for it to heat up. So if you have fabric glue, that is a great option and it dries super quick. I found mine at my local Walmart. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue down all of the knots that are hanging over the edge. This Macrame Pixel Sun was a requested pattern. If you have a pattern request, please leave it in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Also, if you enjoyed this Macrame Sun Pixel, I think you'll also like my standing macrame rainbow pattern. After all, they do kind of match. Click the link on the screen now and I'll see you over there.